A while ago, we did the unboxing of the Asus ZenFone 2, and we've been reviewing it for a while now, and we found a lot of interesting things that made us really happy and some that gave us little surprises. So this is GK from TechPP.com, and today we're going to do a detailed review of the Asus ZenFone 2. And the model that we have here, rather the variant that we have here among the many different variants that are released in India, the one that we have here is the Zen 551ml, and this one comes with 32 gig internal memory, and we'll look at the rest of the aspects when we go through it. Let's talk about the design. So this one comes with a 5.5 inch HD screen and 403 ppi, and it also comes with a Gorilla Glass 3 protection. And in terms of the form factor, this is around 10.9 mm thickness and weighs around 170 grams. Though the thickness is high, it is only at the center portion, and the curved design here actually fits right well into your hands. We've seen a similar design with the Motorola G series, the Moto E and things like that. Though this thickness at the center is high, the curved design makes way for the hands to really hold it neatly. The other aspects about the design here are the placement of the volume button. Usually you would see it at the left or at the right, but then Asus seems to be inspired by the LG flagship series, and they've placed the volume rockers at the back, and also the power button comes at the top here, bang right in the middle. In our unboxing video, we actually felt that this is an awkward position, but given the fact that the volume rockers are here, it makes more sense for the power button to come here, which otherwise you would have to stretch your finger to either to the right or the left, and that is more difficult. For example, if you're holding it, if you're toggling the volume rockers here, it's more easy for you to just do this rather than stretch your hands to the other two sides. So though it's a design quirk, but the volume rockers and the power go in tandem with the placement here, and that is what someone will really have to get used to. Other aspects of the design, the back, though it looks metallic, it is made out of plastic, and the capacitive buttons here are not backlit. This is really a surprise, considering that it's a flagship phone and they're not backlit, and you might have to struggle a bit in the night. And if you enable the vibration, the touch vibration, then probably it might be easier for your hands to get programmed to the positions of the capacitive buttons. So the speaker grill comes here at the bottom, and we'll come to the actual speaker performance in a bit. On opening this back panel, you actually figure out that this is cheap plastic. Though it has the metallic finish, it's just cheap plastic, and that's what it is. You can also buy an additional flip cover, the circular cover that comes with it, but then again, that is also not the highest of the qualities that we've seen. So under the hood, we have the ability to add two SIMs, micro SIMs that take in 4G, and both the SIMs are 4G, and you also have the ability to add additional memory. You can add in as much as 64 gigs. And the battery is not removable. We have a massive 3000 mAh battery here, and it's not removable. So I just mentioned about the speaker. Though you see the grill that spans across the breadth at the bottom, the speaker is just one tiny bit here, and we've seen this with other phones as well. But that's what it is. Though the design spans across, the speaker is just tiny. So that is the overall design. Though it is slightly bulky, it fits right well into your hands, and the positioning of the buttons is something that you will have to get used to. The 5.5 inch display here has a pixel density of 403, and it's a delight to the eyes. So that is a really good experience here. But when you bring the screen under the light, it's a highly reflective surface, and that is where, though the screen is having very good readability, you might struggle owing to the fact that it's highly reflective. There's nothing much that you can do here, but that's a screen. And in terms of the overall UI also, it is very pleasing, and this is the customary Zen Ui that you get here. And one of the good things about the Zen Ui is that it's lighter than before, and much closer to the stock Android, if you will, but with the bare minimum customizations and the color effects and all that. So let's go through the different aspects of the Zen UI. The one that we have here is built of Android Lollipop, the latest Android version, and we have the many different options in the toggle. Some one that says how much of RAM is available, and a lot of other options as well. You have the option to get into the reading mode that makes the screen a little bit warmer, less glaring to the eyes, and you can also make it vivid in case you want it that way. And you also can get into the one-handed mode, and you also have the glove mode in case you're in somewhere cold and you've had the gloves on. This is another handy option as well. So that is what it is, and in the last 1 week that we've been using, Asus has pushed in 3 updates to the phone, and all of these have been bringing constant enhancements to the phone, and that is really a good sign to see in terms of the Zen UI. We've seen this in the past as well, and Asus has continued on that legacy. If you look at the default theme here, maybe it's not so appealing. This is where Asus has brought in improvements. If we go to the themes app, we will find there are a lot many themes this time around. It was just a couple in the previous version, but now there are a lot of other options as well. So why don't we go to this particular theme called the travel and see how things change. This is actually my personal favorite, and this looks more appealing, less glaring to the eyes, if you will. So that is another improvement that Asus has brought in. There's one feature that this phone has which people will really fall in love and even get addictive. We've seen this on the OnePlus One. This is the double tap to close and the double tap to wake up. Trust me, you will get addicted to this, and you might start doing that on other screens as well if you really get used to it. So that's a very handy feature. The other improvements that the UI has, for example, this is the messaging app. And if there are certain messages that you've gotten and you want to keep it private, something like that you've got from your loved ones, or some that you've got from your bank, the messaging app has options to mark something as private. For example, if I have to mark this message as private, I long tap on that and I say move to private, and that's moved to private, and not everyone can see it unless you filter out with this, and you have that password enablement feature here, and only you will know the password and you can see those private messages. And you can also go into the contacts to define who are VIPs or closed ones to you, and you can mark those, and once you click on VIP only, those messages from that contact list would come in, and you can come back to the general. So this is a very handy feature in the Zen UI. And in terms of the other aspects of the Zen UI, there are many different preloaded apps. We usually see a lot of games and unwanted apps, but not so with the Zen UI here. There is a Supernote app that helps you take quick notes. There is a photo collage. There's a quick memo, and there is also something called as the kids mode that is more restrictive in nature, that lets the kids use certain applications only. And there is also a party link application. This is something similar to the Sync It app, but here you can quickly share pictures across different devices, and also the streaming to the PC link. And there are other options like the power saver, and there's another option right here in the toggle menu where you can clear off the RAM. For example, right now I have certain applications open. We also have the games open here, really high-end games, and that's the reason why out of the 4 GB RAM, it says a little above 1 GB RAM is what is left out. So tapping on this, it actually clears up the RAM, and now you can see how much of RAM is free. So if you see, it says greater than 2 GB. So this is how at any point in time, if you clear everything, you have more than 2 to 2.5 GB worth of RAM free. That lets the Zen UI perform seamlessly, smooth, and during all our tests, there has been no lags, no stutters. Though there were occasional incidents where the gallery app just crashed as soon as I opened it. Not so here, but the gallery app and the music app just crashed immediately after I opened, but those were really isolated incidents. And overall, the 4 gig of RAM and the Intel Atom 3580 processor, the quad-core processor, should work in tandem and give you a very smooth performance. So that was the overall performance of the Zen Ui. Absolutely satisfactory. Let's come into the performance of the battery. This is a big screen, 5.5 inch, and the 403 pixel PPIs stuffed in, and the 4 GB RAM and the high-end processor as well. One would expect mediocre performance when you have such specifications, and the battery performance here is really commendable. At any given on any given day, you should be getting at least 5 hours of screen on time with the Zen Ui, with a medium to slightly high usage pattern. So I just captured a couple of screenshots to show you the SOT that I got. So this was an instance where the standby time of the phone was spanned more than 1.5 days, but the screen on time was 5 hours 17 minutes, and I still had close to 14% of battery remaining. And on such instances, you can still extend the battery using very handy settings that Asus has provided here in terms of the power management. So if you go to the auto start manager and also the power saver, you have the smart saving option where you can push the battery a little further in case of need by going into the ultra saving mode, and that switches off most of the background processes of the data connection and different things like that. So that's a very handy feature. So overall, it is a very satisfactory battery performance, and the usage pattern included a couple of hours of browsing and at least 3 hours of WhatsApping and 1 hour on the call, and at least 30 to 40 minutes of gaming, and 50 to 100 clicks on the camera, and that I consider is slightly above average usage pattern, and you should have no problems with this. The key aspect to the battery performance here is the quick charge ability that Asus has provided here. The claim that was made was in 0 to 30 minutes, 39 minutes, you should hit 0 to 60% of the battery. But in our observations, this is what we got, and I've captured the screenshots for that as well to show you what we got. So it was at 3 o'clock now on a particular day that I started charging, and the percentage was 15, and by the time it could go to 100, it was 433. So it's close to 90 minutes to go to 100, not very close to the claim that Asus made, but still not bad either. And one of the observations that I made during the battery charging was the device gets heated up. But that is usual with any phone nowadays, and the main reason is that trying to charge it more fast, hence there's more surge coming in, and that's the reason why the device gets heated up. And do not panic if that happens. We've seen that happen in Note 3, we've seen that happen in the Note 4, the OnePlus One, the iPhone as well. So do not get scared if that happens to you. So that was about the battery performance. Again, thumbs up. And next comes the gaming. So we have the 4 gigs of RAM here, and one should not have any problem. Now we've put at least 2 to 3 games in the background, and still and we switched across to different games, and it started very well. And in our experience, it can at least handle 3 games in the background until it closes the previous one. So let's take a look at a couple of games here. So while in the gaming, one of the key aspects that one would look for is the sound quality, because that is what gives you an enriching experience. We have the speaker grill at the bottom here, and we also saw the speaker is tiny, and the sound is not as satisfactory as one would expect it to be. And if you were to hold your phone, it could also cover the speaker grill at the back here, but it doesn't prevent so much of sound, but it still hampers it if you're really holding it tight, because you're holding it in the landscape mode, and you tend to hold the phone slightly gripped because you don't want the phone from falling away. One of the beauty of this phone is that it does not get heated up like the other phones. We've played games for at least 30 to 40 minutes, but still never observed hitting to the levels where the hands became really uncomfortable to hold the device. But this one or two isolated instances where we saw, fraction of a second jerk, and that is probably because it's throttling the processor to keep the heating under control, and that is really isolated in the last 5 or 6 days that I've used. Saw that happen only twice, and that's not a big complaint, but that's probably a negligible trade-off that Asus is trying to make in stopping the device from getting heated, because that could start posing really big problems. And games work seamlessly. No lags, no stutters, no frame losses observed. So I put that game into the background and I'm moving on to another game. Yeah. As I mentioned before, the display is really pleasing to the eyes, and hence gaming would be a real delight to play. And we just wish that now the sound was slightly better, louder, and of enhanced quality that would really enrich the overall experience. So we've been playing the game for a while. Still, I don't observe much of heating of the device, which is really good. So I put that game into the background, and I opened the other game, and still running, which means that it's seamlessly handling things. So those are the two games that we played, the Powerboat Racing and Real Racing, which are really intensive games. And overall, the gaming is again a thumbs up, satisfactory. Alright, then the next key feature of any flagship would be the camera, and let's look at the camera of the ZenFone 2. The camera app is a very intuitive one, very simple, and the key strength of this camera is the fast focus. And we've also done a detailed review of the camera performance, and do click the link below to move on to the camera review. And I'll also splash few camera samples here for you to see. So the pictures taken by the ZenFone 2 is much closer to true colors, and again, this is one of the pictures that came really well. This is very good in terms of the macro mode. The 13 megapixel shooter at the back is accompanied by the dual tone LED, and they both work in tandem and work really well. There's a 5 megapixel shooter on the front and takes good selfies as well. The key thing is the software that is loaded with this, and you do watch the detailed review and you'll know more aspects about the camera itself. So the quick summary of the camera is that this does very well with the macro mode. The panorama mode has options where you can actually take vertical and the horizontal panorama. So there you see you have the arrow marks coming. So key highlights of the camera would be the macro mode and the flexible ability of the panorama mode, and the areas where the camera fails is low light conditions where the lights get overexposed and it really struggles a bit in those conditions. So overall, satisfactory camera performance. In terms of the other aspects of performance, call qualities just did fine, though there was occasional issues like when I was talking, I felt the person on the other end was coming too close to the microphone or going away from the microphone. And it happened to me with another caller as well, but we never know with the kind of clogged networks that we have, but overall 99% of the time it was very good. The audio, like I mentioned, we wish it was just really enhanced. Though there is audio wizard that comes here, it does very little much for you to really appreciate the sound quality. And in terms of the processor that we have here, the Z3580, we never felt this inferior to any other processors that we use on a daily basis on other phones like the 800 or the 801 from Qualcomm Snapdragon. And that's also maybe given to the fact that this has the 4GB RAM, and they work in tandem to give you that kind of a performance where you have very little to complain actually, and those are isolated occasions. So just to quickly wrap things up, the good and the bad. The good things about the ZenFone 2 is the 4GB RAM, the first smartphone to have the 4GB RAM, and the processor, we had no complaints about it. The camera did really nice, and the price is also bang for the buck for the specifications here. The Zen Ui especially was a real delight to use here, and the range of options that they've brought in, and the constant updates that Asus has been pushing, and that is also really good. The fast charging option, and it quickly charges the phone, because you really need when you're running out of time, you need to charge the phone quickly. Really helps. And the best of the best is this device doesn't get overheated or gets heated to a level where you're really feeling uncomfortable. One of the key problems that we've been seeing in a lot of phones, especially in the high-end processors. So kudos to Asus on working that out. In terms of what is bad, the build quality for a flagship phone, this is plasticky, if you will. And the design, the tiny quirks that I mentioned, like the volume button and the power button, one will like it or leave it. No, you just have to get accustomed to it. And also, being a flagship, the capacitive buttons are not backlit, and that's a bummer. And the speaker quality was not loud enough, was not enticing enough, especially big screen, high-end processor gaming. You would want a very good sound quality output. But when you're plugged into your earphones, it should not be that much of a problem. But when it comes to the speaker, that is where the gripe occurs. So overall, it was a very satisfactory, and I was really happy to review the ZenFone 2. We would highly recommend this. In terms of alternatives that you might be looking into, this one phone that comes really close to this is the OnePlus One. But that one has a better build quality, but falls short in the RAM department because it has just 3GB RAM. The Asus ZenFone 2 beats the OnePlus One in terms of the camera, and the Asus ZenFone 2 has the dual SIM ability, with both of them having the ability to take the 4G SIM. In terms of the pricing, the ZenFone 2 comes in various variants. The 2GB variants come in the 12,999 and the 14,999, whereas the high-end ones, the 4GB ones, come in the range of 19,999 and the 22,999. So in many different aspects, it's bang for the buck, and we really highly recommend the ZenFone 2. Hope you found this detailed review useful. Do give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more reviews. Until the next one, this is GK from TechPP.com signing off. Bye bye.